Welcome to the Scaling Japan podcast, a podcast about how to grow your business from $100,000 and beyond in the land of the rising sun.
Welcome to the Japan Scalers podcast, where I interview entrepreneurs, country managers, and growth leaders who have scaled companies in Japan. And on today's episode, we have Eric Wei, the CEO of timelyhero. timelyhero is a platform that matches people who have talents and time to share them with businesses that need them. He has over 15 years of experience in e-commerce and product management at top global companies such as Amazon, Google, Foodpanda, and DiDi. And for today's episode, we'll hear more about his experiences scaling DiDi as Chief Product Officer and a little bit about timelyhero as well. Before we start, here's a quick introduction to myself, your host. I'm the CEO of LaunchLab. We support setting up a company and back office in Japan. We also provide affordable advisory on raising capital, IPO, and other finance topics. I also run Scaling Your Company that provides courses and sales advisory and digital marketing agency services for the Japan market. If you need help, feel free to reach out. And Eric, it's great to have you on. And could you please introduce yourself and also tell us a little bit about timelyhero as well?
Sure. Thanks for having me here. So I'm Eric. I'm founder and CEO of the timelyhero. So we are building in long term, we're going to be at Amazon.com, but sell people's skills and expertise. And we are building our first business verticals, which is business skills. So we connect the people who have the expertise on product management, marketing, and go-to-markets, from internationally. So we get those courses and knowledge available for the clients and enterprises, especially, and startups, founders in Japan. Yeah, so that's what we do on timelyhero.
And do you guys help with maybe finding fractional leadership talent as well?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do is sort of we'll work with the startups and well, sometimes they are thinking about global expansion. Basically, if they're doing about the fashion business, they want to think about how can they expand the business to US. It's very difficult for them to find a way because they never do the expansion before. So we help them to connect with the experts. For example, we do have the ex-CEO of American Apparel as a service providers on the platforms. And so we connect them up. So that's usually said about like rather than you talk to a bunch of consulting agencies and connect to someone you don't know, it's better to kind of talk to someone who have done that before and can share the expertise and help you to avoid those kind of mistakes that you could avoid.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great program. When I was with my first company, OneCoin English, we hired two fractional leaders. One was a project manager from IBM to help us improve our operations, or help me improve my operation since I was the operations director. And also we brought in a former CHRO of GE Health in Japan to help level up our HO processes, because we're going from 150 and we're aiming to reach like 500 people. So rather than us figuring it out like each stage again and again, brought her in. She's like, here's the 3-year plan. I'm like, 3 years? It's like, wow, I've only thought about 6 months. And it's just amazing working with someone who has done it before. They already knew the next step and the next step. And that really helped to level up our company. And I learned so much from that.
Right, exactly. Well, I think there's what you mentioned is totally correct. Like, I really think about it just like for you to get on a bicycle or motorcycle or a car or even airplane, right? So you're at the different stages of startups, and right now you're on the front employee from 0 to 9, and totally don't need to worry that much about the work rules and things and how can you get your hands dirty. It's gonna work on the first stages versus when you have the more than 10 to 100. That's totally different levels as well, right? So at each of the stages, unfortunately, there's almost no one have all kind of all the experience from all different stages. So like for you, your point as well is how can you bring in the fractional leaders, from different stages that will kind of help the team, help the organization to find the right products, right? So the product you offer for the first 10 people versus you offer for 10,000 people are totally different, right? And for people who will earn the first $1 million ARR versus you are serving for the 1 billion active users business is totally different as well. So so we believe that we will have to build those lifelong learning journeys for the working professionals. And so no matter which stage they are, to find the right mentors or expertise that would need to connect them to the success will be the key, that we're driving.
Yeah, no, one of my clients, we just bring in a fractional COO and, see how it goes for 6 months. And today we want to talk a little bit more about your experience as a chief product officer at DiDi. But could you maybe tell us what is DiDi and maybe what their target market is and how you help the customer?
Sure. DiDi is the one of the biggest ride-hailing platform in the world. They started from China. And the reason why it was there is prior to DiDi was there, people find it hard to hire a taxi in China, especially when I was there living 2 years in China. And I found it out like I have to keep a lot of phone numbers of the taxi drivers on my phone because it's almost impossible to, to find the drivers and to pick me up and drop me off. And that was like the year of like 2008 to 10, around that time, around Beijing Olympic. And right after that, this is where this business was starting off, is platforms like what today people know about, like Uber, Grab, so it's a similar business. So we connect the people who drive the car, we pick the passengers and, pick it up and drop it off in destinations. And so that's the first business. And the company took out very well, was starting from China and have, 100 million users on the platforms hugely. And so I joined the company in 2018, which is a time they started to build international expansion team. I joined the company as a chief product officer, basically to identify, what would be the right products and that we need to put in place in a country like Japan, which is quite a unique place to go after. So when I was there, I joined the company right after the joint ventures was built with SoftBank in Japan. DiDi did a couple of the different kind of approaches, depends on the country they're going to, right? For example, for a country like Brazil, was 100% acquired company called 99 Taxis, and to help 99 Taxis to run with a system provided by DiDi in the markets. Yeah, so in Japan, so how we got started is kind of a form like joint venture with SoftBank. Everybody know about this brand in the places. Yeah.
Gotcha. Next is, they made the partnership with SoftBank. You joined in. Please tell us about the beginnings.
So SoftBank was our investor, right, on the DiDi, and so that's our very nature is when we expand to the home courts of the SoftBanks. It's very natural to partner with them, and they have the best sales and marketing team, the places that we cannot ask for more, right? And most of the startup company, when you do the global expansion, is first, how can you put together a founding team? And as the joint ventures, one of the good strengths and as well as the challenges is we are putting people from both sides, right? So we're putting a group of people are, working more on product engineering, those kind of things from, relocate from China, as well as we have the sales and marketing, and most of the back office team as well as, from Japan as well. And also on top of that, we have third group as well is to do a local hire. Right. And so I think the biggest challenge we had from the first day is, okay, we have the two groups that speaking two different languages, right? And, the one side is talking Chinese, another side is talking about Japanese. And while, that's basically when they found for day one, when they have only less than 100 employees, so we have to always think about how we do the right translations. And when we communicate about the product requirements or things, we want to make sure there's no loss in translation. So, this kind of thing, like we build it, this kind of partnership with SoftBank. Most part is good, but also of course, it comes with the challenge about how to communication in between groups. Intercultural communication become one of the key challenge we're first facing.
How did you overcome some of the challenges of intercultural communication?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So we bring some of the e-learning courses and to help each other understand the difference, right? So how could we, get rid of this unconscious bias, right? So we're thinking about in Japan, it should be this. Even I never lived in Japan before, Or, from Japan's perspective, I've never been in China before. And so that's why I don't know why you come up with these product features. I just don't understand. It just doesn't work in Japan, right? So those kind of things, first we have to remove the bias, right? And remove the bias. And also we kind of help each other to learn each other languages. We have a group in China trying to get to learn about Japanese culture, Japanese languages as well, and vice versa, right? So we arrange a group tour for Japanese members to visit our headquarters in China, right?
Gotcha.
And to understand
Yes.
why we have these features and why we're doing this, and trying to improve this intercultural communications as a day one. Yeah,
That's cool. And also getting people to meet in person as well. Did you find that have a big impact?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With people you always meet on emails versus you have met each other, have the first drinks, were totally different and about how people, will prioritize the projects on, right? So you've never met this person before, probably your project, your request will never get passed through, right? So by meeting each other in person, they understand you, they know why your request is coming from, and trying to understand you, trying to sit down to understand more. Sometimes it will help you on your work as well. So those kind of communications is definitely the key.
Cool. So I think, yeah, from like a company kind of like policy or procedural, like how to get people to, let's say, remove some of those biases. But maybe as like a leader in your case, how did you maybe help your team members maybe overcome some of their personal biases to work for a truly international company?
Well, I think two parts, right? And the first is to really speak on the data, right? So first we talked about like don't think about like others are not doing, or there's no one doing that before, and so we shouldn't do it. Let's don't do that, right? And so let's speak on data. And do we understand our market long enough? For example, we are doing the ride hauling business. Have we done how many times of the requirement gathering from our taxi partners, right? And how many times we talk to the passengers in Japan, right? And to put on the data points about like, we interview 100 people, 90 feel about we need to do this. So it's really not about you, but really about the market and users and the partner. What do they say? Yeah, that's usually the first thing we will say about like, let's collect data, less data speaks. That's what will be the first things we'll tell my team.
No, I think that's good too. And rather than having people try to argue against each other, they can argue against the data. Any other challenges that you faced maybe in the very beginning?
The very beginning, while we do the interview with our service side, our supply, basically the taxi drivers, the challenge what we have is we notice about there are fairly like the average age is around 59 years old versus our main drivers in China is at the 30s. Most of the product leaders know about like build a product for 30s and for 60s are totally different. Yeah, so we not just about not being able to copy paste about what we have the UI UX from China, we have to rebuild almost everything, right? And for our business sides, because in China, for example, we build a mobile app. For everybody have the mobile phone, they just download the app and they put on the cards, go with that, right? So mobile app for most of the taxi driver in Japan is too small. Right. And so what it did is we actually have to build an app that worked perfectly well on iPad. A
Gotcha.
big pad.
Yeah.
For that. And this not everyone or every tax company have iPad. So, we need to come up with a new budget, to fund the people to own this hardware. And so they can have the user interface that will allow them to be able to touch and use and operate what we're wanting to do, right? And that's kind of first challenge we're kind of facing. And so we kind of building the whole entire different user interface for different segmentation of the service providers. Yeah, with the kind of the first challenge we have over there. Yeah, I'll give you an example about the feature when we don't do that in China, but did it in Japan is what we notice the behavior about like Japanese taxi drivers are not accepting codes or orders, even though we have the strong demands coming in. So we kind of notice about why, because usually you have the orders, you want to accept them, you want to pick them up because that means traction, that means money, right, for the business. And we have the 7 seconds rules, and over there is that after 7 seconds, if you don't pick up the codes, we give them another drivers, right, and to pick up the orders. And but we noticed about like the reason why they don't pick up the order is because in Japan, we see it about a lot of drivers, they put on white gloves, on their hands, right? And with white gloves, we found it is extremely hard to touch the screen. It doesn't function, right? Because and what drivers we would do some interview with them is we noticed about they have to park aside, and remove the gloves and starting to accept orders. And it usually already past 7 seconds, so they have no way to accept the orders. So that's one.
So my guess is, do you have to give them new gloves that they can touch?
Yeah, so actually what we did is that we thought about that, right? So it gives the goes for 10 of 1,000 drivers, and that's it. And every day they have the glove, special glove they can touch the screen. No, what actually we end up doing is we use the voice to detect the codes. Yeah, so we were talking about
gotcha.
You got a code, you got an order,
gotcha, yes.
And do you want to accept it, right? And so we have the voice to tell the drivers, and the driver just needs to say hi or yeah, then that will immediately translate that hi to like, yes, I will accept these orders, and to trigger that routing and to show about where is the consumers to pick up and to take the orders. So they no longer need to park aside, and no longer need to remove the white glove. And
you don't need to buy gloves, yeah. That's much more effective than buying a white glove.
Yeah, exactly. We thought about buy gloves, and every 1 month we have to ship new glove for every of drivers. Man, that's not just the money; it's operations is just crazy. So that's one of example about we haven't done that in anywhere else outside of Japan, but it's kind of one of the local behaviors we noticed that will affect our acceptance rate a lot, and we kind of come up with creative idea, right, about like building the kind of voice recognition audio acceptance system, right, a feature, right, and to allow to do that, and after that our acceptance rate just go crazily high, and people just say hi, right, and they accept like 1 or 2 seconds, so yeah, so that also reduce the time for our consumer need to wait for how many minutes for driver to come pick up as well, right? So that's one example about like the country differences. What give you the hints about what kind of feature you need to build for this market to work.
Yeah, and I love that you can do it voice. I mean, it's much more safer too because they're driving a car.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe what were some of the advantages you guys had in entering the market?
Right. The one of the biggest advantage we have is about the AI. So the data we have from China, based on the a few hundred millions of the people traveling back and forth, right? And so those kind of AI data analysis, and also the heat zone, what we just talked about, like what will be the demands arrive in certain places, is one of the differentiators. At the beginning, we will be able to tell the driver different driver going to different places. So we're not going to tell like 10,000 drivers, everybody go to Shibuya right now, right? So then you will have the oversupplies and you have not enough demand and create traffic, right? So the big demand forecasting will help to disperse, right? And the driver to the right place on the right time. We tell these drivers about go to Shibuya in the next 10 minutes because you will see the orders over there, right? And so that's kind of big differentiator about like, instead of everybody, before they have the DiDi, they just driving on the street for no reason. It's waiting for people to wave their hands on the street.
Yeah.
Right.
And so just wait at the taxi stop, and there'll be like a line of 8 of them. And
right, exactly. And so what the problem is that the driving on empty taxis waste their efforts, waste the gasoline, and create a traffic. And so that's nothing good about that, right? So doing that, but if they don't do that, they don't receive the order. They don't find the users, passengers. So what we did really, I think one of the differentiators is the big data predictions, the services to help them to, utilize their time, right? And to utilize so reduce the empty rates, right? And to utilize the time for them to get the passengers. That means more transaction. That means more revenues, per taxi, right? And so that's kind of one of the key differentiator from the big. So we are not a taxi company trying to do the app. We are a big data company trying to get into the right industries in that sense.
Hello, listeners. I'm excited to announce my live cohort course to help you increase your sales in Japan. Many foreigners struggle to turn first meetings into second meetings because they lack a sales pamphlet that follows the standard format in Japan. Even if you have a good first meeting, your internal contact will hand over your current sales pamphlet to the decision maker, and they'll take one look and say, they don't get Japan. My live 4-session cohort course will teach you how to make a sales pamphlet in English using the standard format in Japan. You will receive a sales pamphlet template, more than 10 examples from Japanese companies, and a lot of feedback, so you can end the course with a sales pamphlet that gets more meetings and therefore more sales. Getting one extra deal will more than pay off the course, so joining is a no-brainer. You can find more details of the course at scalingyourcompany.com/sales pamphlet. And we'll have a link in the show notes. Did you have any other unique insights that helped you for that stage? So I think you gave a great example of how to get more supply.
So we another differentiator we have we've been a business to Japan is we also support multiple the payment methods, includes the biggest two like Alipay and WeChat Pay in China. So and a good benefit for that is the people who already have the DiDi app from China and they can just come into Japan and turn on roaming. They don't need to download any other app, and they will be able to hire a ride with their native app. So for that, we're actually bringing a new segmentation of users to Japan because imagine about that. If you're coming from China, you don't speak a single word of Japanese. You try to communicate with the 59 years old of taxi drivers, you're not going anywhere, right? So they would basically instead of like refuse or I don't know what you're saying, sorry, gomenasai, and then you would get refused, and it's a terrible passenger experience, right? I have money, I want to pay. And so that's kind of payment issues from the user inside is I do have Alipay, I do have WeChat Pay, but I don't have cash. And one of the big issues or situation we notice in Japan is taxi tends to be quite expensive, like transportation method, right? And agree or not, like if you get a taxi from the middle of the Tokyo, you get a taxi to the Narita airports, it usually takes you at least 20,000 yen, easy, right? And so but we noticed about when people want to get from the city back to the airport before they get back to their hometown, they usually run out of cash, right? And nobody leave a lot of cash on the hand, right, before they go back, and they don't expect this will be 20,000 yen, right, because it's too expensive. And so we noticed about the user insights is, they don't have cash, and while most of the taxi only accept cash, back then. So that's why we have to integrate with a payment methods that was supported in the in other countries, and also with that we also noted that there's some of the compensation inside the taxis that doesn't pass through. So we build a real-time translation feature. So for the Chinese passengers speak in Chinese, we'll be able to translate the real time in Japanese to the driver's app. So they'll be able to kind of talk to each other via each of the devices, real time, without talking to customer services, right? Now, without that, I think users would have no chance to communicate with driver. I'm not going here, I'm going there, or you can stop here, or any kind of question, any kind of communication cannot be conducted. So that's one of the user insight we have for international passengers, and that's why we noticed. And from the domestic users, of course, we expand the international product to here, and so we kind of pay attention about like what do they need and who they are, right? And so it's quite a different of the consumer segmentation we have in outside of Japan, because any one of you have been China before, this about the transportation is so cheap, right? So it's probably can spend like 300 yen, 500 yen, you can go quite far away, right? So one of the things is the segmentation of the users in China can be anyone, can be a housewife, can be a student just feel tired, they want to get last mile ride. And while in Japan, the most of the people who take taxis are business users, right? Gotcha. And they can expense the fare, right? And so basically, and they don't. So that's why they don't care about like you said 10,000, 20,000 yen, because I wanted winning my time back. So it's one of the user insight about like they are less price sensitive, but they are very time sensitive.
Gotcha, yeah.
Right. In that sense, we will build a feature more tell that direction about like based on a user who they are. What matters then? If they are not price sensitive, like it probably doesn't make a lot of sense to do a lot of like discounts, coupon, and to drive the engagement and retention. But how can we save the time for them, right? So how can we shorten the time?
That was like more your North Star metric, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the magic about like, so how can you shorten the time from the order to pick up? How can you come up with a base route? So it's actually one of the secret sauce as well is we are, so, in China, they have the different set of the base map or, Google Map routing services. because there's no Google Map in that place. So in Japan, so we have to reevaluate about all kind of available options, right? All the routing things, Google Map destination, Google route, or Yahoo or Zenrin, there's some local players as well. So we actually have to compare those products, to integrate with us, right? But with that, the thing I just mentioned about the read time is really key for a passenger here. So we want to pick the one who had the most accuracies instead of the cheapest one, right? So that's why we have to build this kind of a base map from scratch, based on the user's needs. They need a shorter time, so they need critical routes. They can avoid the traffic, and also integrate with the payment solution as well. And so that's why you can think about we prioritize our product developments not based on it just looks cool, right? It just looks cool just to connect with these products, right? So no, we actually can base on what consumer wants, what they need, right? So they want to shorten time, then definitely we don't want them to pay the cash in some taxi, right? So that's why we have to connect with the payment methods. We partnership with the PayPay at the time. So
gotcha.
and instead of that time, so that people would be able to connect their payment methods on PayPay, and so they will be able to get to the destination and just get off the car. And we send them the invoice or receipts, to their emails. So they don't need to wait in the taxi to give the 1,000 yen, get a change, get a receipt, and that will probably use 2 or 3 minutes time. And that is key for our passengers.
And the credit card payments too. If you're going to the airport and you got to pay cash and you're in a rush, terrible experience.
Believe it or not, there's still a lot of taxi today that they hate a credit card because they charge 2-3% out of their top line revenues, right? And so, with those kind of business, we have the very single digit profit. That is really killing their business, and that's one of the reasons they really have to accept cash. So, so it's just some insight from the supplier companies as well as why they are not supporting credit card, majority for that reasons.
Yes, I think let's say for DiDi, I think you guys came to Japan and you came hard, pushing hard. I'm kind of curious, how many people did you hire? But my main question is really as a company that's entering the company hard, not not a light entry, you hire one person, 3 people, but doing a hard entry. Do you have any tips for maybe recruitment for maybe someone who might be entering a similar situation?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, sort of recruitment, people usually is the most important thing when you kind of grow business outside your home country, right? So for us, as I mentioned from the very beginning, we have the 3 groups of people, right? So it's from DiDi, China, from SoftBank, Japan, from locally hired, right? So we have them unite as 3 groups. And sometimes, most of the times will be your no name and your startup. And so I don't, I work for big companies. Why should I work for you? And if I have options, I would choose for example, Japan taxis instead of the newborn, startup from somewhere, right? So and so I think the sort of thing will be really to find the right person. We have the passionate about your business. It's usually the most key to do, right? So the thing, for example, we want to drive a vision about which country you're coming from. You will be able to use the taxi here, and you will be able to kind of support the international payment methods, and you'll be able to have the best routes, faster to get to destinations, and someone who may expert in certain areas. For example, we prioritize the hiring based on the needs of the business and the needs of products as well. For example, if we need to build the best Navi systems, right, inside of the DiDi, and then we do need to have someone have an experience in the area, right? So then it's kind of we're trying to talk to identify who are the key persons. Usually there are only very few of them, and what we usually do is really I as a CPO, I don't really just give all the job to our HR. I will be the first one to do casual discussion, reach out to that person to say, do you have time? So I just need 10 minutes time, 20 minutes time. And I want to talk about what we're doing. And we found your expertise might be able to shine in this company. So I'm going to tell you why. And so it's civil directors need to be very good sales in terms of selling the vision or the company values for the people who might be potentially really like your company, right? And so, so that I think that's one of the also secret kind of things as well is when the time you If you can send I hire a customer service specialist, right? And because he's very good about data analysis, he worked at Amazon in Fukuoka at the time. I really need that guy because to build a good product, I need a good consumer insight, and we'll build it from customer service actually. And so to be able to hire him, I actually fly myself from Tokyo to Fukuoka. Of course, I have to meet other partners, but also I arrange a time and I meet him at the hotel that I stay for an hour, and to really talk about like who I am, what this company is, and I know you work for Amazon is not easy.
Yeah, exactly.
To change it to a small startup, but I really think you can be shining in this company and things like that. And the end of the story is that we end up hiring him, and he's become one of the top performers in the companies. And he's now currently working for Google, right? And so that's one of the things about how can as a startup, it's really important to really no matter that he currently works for Amazon, very expensive, up in the air, but still you have to identify like who is the right talent. But you really go harsh on that one to get him in, right? So that will basically help with the growth, the better organization down the road. That's what I believe.
No, I agree with that 100%. I actually do lectures for corporations sometimes on the topic of recruitment is actually the role of leadership. Or if you want top quality talent, if you want average quality talent, let the recruiters handle it. They can get you average people. But if you want an A player, the leader has to bring it in themselves.
Right. Well, I think that's really that's a very good point about is because the leader needs to know about what team they want to build, right? You only have the budget of 5 people, right? You cannot get the same 5 people of them. But if you communicate that job description to the headhunter, HR team or recruiting agency, they're gonna find different the same 5 people maybe like to that point and to get into your companies. You find out everybody have the same skills, and we actually don't need that much, and so we're struggling. As a leader in a company, I feel about like it's like a puzzle. It's a piece of puzzle. Everyone's like important pieces of the organizations. There's no one is perfect in the world, like know everything, right? So the customer service is, for example, it could be someone very good about like inbound calls, and someone very good about automation, someone very good about outbound. So put together teams, really, you want to build a team. With each of them will actually put together to become a team, right? And to work as a team. So, to your point, I totally agree with that. If you as a leader, you will not be able to put together teams and only put it on that's the fault of HR. They are not finding the people for me. So that's why I cannot hit this KPI OKR. Then don't think that should be the good leadership.
I feel sorry for the recruitment team, HR team, because that's my thought. I think finding top level talent, especially in the senior level, it's really the leader who has to bring in that top talent. That's beyond what, let's say, just an employee can do. Because the recruiter and the HR, they are actually for an A player's perspective, like the right person, they are just an employee. But if they're going to join your team, they're going to join because they want to work for you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, like what you mentioned about is a lot of like early join employees, they get up a big salary and they get up a lot of things and join a startup, and it's because they want to work with you. So that's kind of very good point about like I was growing up the Few Pandas. I've been hiring a lot of people and they join a company. They told me, Eric, I want to learn from you. I want to work with you. I believe like the loss of salary we have in the short term, can be covered by the learning experiences working in the small startup, like the responsibility I'm gonna have, and I'm gonna work very closely with you, can learn a lot from you. That's also, I think, at the early stage of startups, and especially want to find a key component or key members on the team, right? And you really need to get your hands dirty, and if not, like, not going to happen.
One of the common challenges I see with my consulting clients is not having any staff internally who can drive marketing strategy and execution to the next level. This really limits the growth trajectory of a company, especially for a leader like you that wants to go from 30 million to 500 million yen a year and does not have the time to spend years learning through trial and error. To solve this problem, I'm launching a marketing agency that can help companies like yours to increase leads and closing rates through SEO, Google Maps, content marketing, and websites that convert. head over to scalingyourcompany.com and book a free consultation. Let's talk about what your business needs are, where your current strategy is letting you down, and how we can help you see real results with the methods I've successfully implemented at multiple companies myself. Now, back to the episode.
One thing based on our talks together that stands out about you is to get the job done, you like go and fly to a place, go in person. I really love that about you. And I want to give a kind of a plug to Timely Hero as well. But so let's say company does need a talented person. And let's say I'm a person, senior level, I'm working full-time for a company already, but I do have maybe, an extra 5, maybe 10 hours a week. Like, what would be the benefit for me to maybe offer my services as like a fractional leader with Timely Hero?
Right. That's usually what we find out is because today's world, what people find a job via the job description of the company with the opening, right? But you will notice about there is no job description in the world that you can plug in all the best skill you have. Or you can do all of them, but actually you speak multiple languages, you know how to do a GTM, you know how to do the biz dev, and you know how to do marketing. But some of the skills you have actually you're not utilized in the role you're actually applying. So that's what we want to do on Tiny Hero is allow everyone to actually shine on the best skill they have and build your social score, your credits, on the platforms. Right. And so I can be the sales and the, working for Salesforce, you name it. Right. So, but I could also offer in my language skill or my, even like your son of like a DEI expert or someone have some certifications, right, of certain skills, you can offer that as a side. And the benefit for that is not just about helping you get extra money, as a salary. It's really helping to build the credits for you and that clients. And the clients could end up to become your next employer, because they work with you, even though that's a kind of side project, but we work with each other for 6 months. You're so good, and then and you think about the company, you work with them for 6 months, you feel about, you really like that lead, and you really like the vision, you really, you've been known about almost everyone in companies, and it's very natural, like switch, from you to decide when is your next company are, right? Think about that as an opportunity, to do a trial, right? In the next companies or in that project. And, we found out some of the cases we have on platforms actually help them to connect them to the next role. Someone be advisor for another companies and not to become the more mentor for their leadership or advisor for board, or even some of them become an external board director for that companies, right? And so go beyond that, sometimes to put it in fair, it's so hard to use 45 minutes to interview someone and you both love each other and can work each other for the next 10 years. It's so hard, to identify. So I feel about to your points, would that be easier? Just let people know about this that you're very good at, and just offer you the best skill you have, and people like it, and you love to offer that services, and naturally you'll get married, right? To the organizations, to that.
Yeah, because sometimes working for a company, it can be like a 5 to 10 year. It's kind of like a marriage. Hopefully you would say people stay together longer, but right. We'll say the same due diligence you do for like dating, that is the closest way you can do it for recruitment. I'll add one more point, because with the fractional leaders we had at OneCoin English, they're really good, and we're happy with them. They're like, we would actually love to have you more. And one thing that was interesting that they answered is one answered that he liked working for multiple companies because he felt like every day he was doing something kind of novel, and so it was a lot of excitement for him. Everything was fun, and he was learning new things. Mm-hmm. And he felt that the learning rate, I think, was faster working at 3 companies than for 1 company.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's very true. I think we've done some of the review with some of the service providers as well. We also noticed that cases. And what I usually put in the word is, for example, you're coming from Asia, you do like to eat rice, right? You want to have the sake rice, right, and miso shiru. But do you want to eat the same thing every day for 365 days in a year? Probably not, right? You want some variations in it. Sometimes you want to get pizza. Sometimes you want to get, let's go get some Indian curry, right? Let's try some Chinese food the other day, right? You need the variations in terms of like your everyday living, doing about that in the eating. right? Working is another thing, right? So you also work almost every day, and putting the same environment, same organizations will sometimes limit your thinking, limit your growth. But if you can do a little multiple stuff, we actually will trigger new thinking, right? And so I think the thought about that will help help people to grow. At the same time, like you don't get tired of doing the same thing every day, right? It gives some variation as well, right? And in the end, like you just have to more well balanced or or faster grow. We notice about a lot of leads will have to faster grow because I'm doing some of B2B, I'm doing some of B2C there, but after 10 years, I actually have the both of the industry experience on both sides, which is kind of rare. Like you probably would notice most of the people work on B2C forever, because they don't get a chance to work on B2B. So I think to your point, why not just spend 20% of your time working on other projects and that you find interesting, and also you can build your skills over there, and on top of that, you can even get paid, right? And so there's nothing to lose, right? So just what I thought.
Because before I started scaling your company, I was in government for I think 3 years, then B2C for 8 years, and now B2B for 3 years. And it's like, and I feel like whatever the situation is now, like if I'm dealing with a B2C company and they're like, oh, we want to do government, or it's like, okay, this is government. We're thinking about this product. Nope, it's not going to work in B2B. Yeah, I feel like it makes you just so much more flexible, and what's that? You can adapt to pretty much any situation because you know the main 3 types.
Totally. I mean, I was saying every lead, when I listen to leads, as I probably will feel the same as well, is you want to hire senior sales, but you have the candidate showing up like working 35 years at IBM, right? And how you read it, right? Sort of like you're always in the one industry and doing the same jobs, throughout the life. And sometimes especially for startups, right? So you need some agile mindset. You want to learning habits. Then you want to handle some. You have a lot of situations coming out every week, every month, right? So whether you can fast react on that, whether you can learn fast or not. So sometimes it's really hard, even though you have to. IBM is super good companies, right? Really super famous, and I don't doubt about his. But it's about learnability. What you just said about then when you hire people. If he hasn't shown learnability in the past 35 years, how can you expect him when you join your startup, he started learning from next month? It's hard to connect that thing, So
especially like he's like an account executive, and you come in like, oh, we don't have any leads for you. Can you generate some leads? And he's like, wait, you don't have leads?
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Usually when you have especially I think startup, usually I think it's not too many people hiring the people from another startup, right? So usually you hire from a big company, someone have the industry experts, right? Have those kind of experiences. And the things what you mentioned is exactly right? When you work for big companies, when I used to work for Google, first time I meet up these clients and I would give my business cards. They say, oh, you work for Google. I said, I don't need to spend 5 minutes to explain about what is Google. Or if not, you can just Google it, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
But if you work in a startup, like you have really be yourself. You really need to have a strong team, be able to explain the value and the vision, and how can you show the passion to the people you're meeting to, and you don't have the big branding of the companies that you can carry from. You give the business card, people first and what it is, right? So can you tell me what is company doing, right? So yeah.
Cool, thanks. And so I think for me, like the first stage of DiDi was, rather than just going like for massive growth, like like marketing per se, it really was getting the product right for the Japan market. But let's say now that you got the product more right for the Japan market, let's say that you got the drivers now who can finally accept calls. You do have some demand, especially with China. But what was the next stage?
Right. The next stage will be to scale it, right? And so when you have enough the taxis, and when you have enough the passengers in and domestics, the next is how can you go from the current stage from 1 to 10 to even to 100, right? And during that stages, we do basically 2 things. First is to really look carefully about what can we do a partnership with, right? And so we integrate with Google Map. And because we want to get a user usually when you check about destination, you check about, I'm in Shinjuku, I want to go to Shibuya. right? I'm checking about the routes, and then there's a Densha, right? There's train, there's by bus, and this is by taxi, right? So we make our service over there. So people, when they do the destination search, they will be seeing about, by the way, you can take DiDi and take it 2,000 yen. Do you want to choose that? Once they click yes and they connect to the DiDi, then we'll finish the rides, right? And so we kind of build that experiences on Google Map, so they can drive the traffic to us, right? And similar thing, we do the collaboration with Yahoo Transit as well. People look for the train or the transit. We provide them with as a taxi options for there. And in the end, we will drive the traffic, the users from their side, and we provide a service to match their needs, right? And that's kind of few examples that we're doing a few partnership with them. And also, like I said, like we also partnership with the PayPay, like the payment methods, and where people pay every day. And we also build the mini app on PayPay as well. So you're the PayPay user, open up PayPay app, you can actually hire taxis, and as a DiDi, we provide a service for that. So that's the one thing about is you can always build your business, you can always do your own marketing, you can drive your user set. But what something is the other side of the business already have your potential user on that, and to really draw the pictures about how can you do either revenue shares or profit shares, how can you draw the pie and to work with them to drive the traffic in significant faster way. That probably take you 10 years to build the levels, and probably you can just finish the deals in the next 6 months or 1 year, and you will have to that 10 years of traffic to you, right? So that's one thing. So I think another thing on the current stage will be to build your also some other revenue streams as well, right? And so how can we turn this on from transportation app to a more, to also we be able to monetize a business from different ways. One thing is we launched a media business that's called DiDi TV. So that's a television for the backseat passengers. So you see that there's a big monitor, right? So there's a big screens, and so we show to the passengers about the contents and the advertising as well. So that's another thing is we do, when we do it in markets, we always think about how can we increase the number of transactions. And to increase the number of transactions, we need to either charge the taxi lower or charge the passenger lower, right? And so when it becomes cheaper, the transaction will go up, right? And so, but you've only burned by yourself, you become like unit economics doesn't make sense, right? Yeah. You cannot always burn the money while you just create a traffic by running out of money, you burn out, right? So one thing about them, to be able to make unit economic works, we need to bring another revenue streams. And so that's why for us, it's one of the things advertising revenue, right? And so we'll be able to get into the media business, and we'll be able to sell the advertisements to advertisers back then. And so that will give us more budget in terms of we have room to do a marketing campaign. We have room to also offer a low tech rate for the tax partners. And that's also another way is how you scale the business, not just about your products. You can build a new products on top of your products and be able to drive different revenue streams. We'll fund the money to the flywheel of your regular business. And by the way, I don't know about now, but back then, DiDi TV or media business, we first launched in Japan. So that's another thing about you don't always need to wait until the headquarters have that products or features before you can bring over. But it's more important is really pay attention to the markets, and every market have different unit economics in a sense, right? So, every price per ride is different, and so you have to really pay attention about what kind of products or business build on top of that. Then I think to your hiring question as well is we don't usually think about we need to hire 100 people. Then after thinking about what we should allow them to do, we actually think the other way is what kind of business, what kind of product we need to build. And on top of that, and who do we need? And you have that person's, what's about the top line, whether they can cover this cost or not. And each of the person you hire is a small portion of P&L for you, right? And so
that's yes, I love that.
Yeah, a small portion of the P&L. And so you make sure it's not about whether hiring 10 is too much, too many, or hiring 1 is too less. No, it's not. That should be not a question. In your equation, you always have the unit economics for the people you're hiring, right? You're hiring for what reason? Do they contribute to more order, more revenues, or less customer complaint, or what? That should connect to the KPI specifically, right? And so that I think that's sort of like in that stage is we're trying to, after it grows, we then think about how can we scale. Then unit economics possibly definitely is one thing. Like you get asked by all your investors, the markets, the things, and you are not being able to burn the money anymore. Then how can you come up with a revenue source? How can you partner with others, make it more a business, more driving the traffic in the low CAC?
Yeah, the reason I love that is because I think a lot of companies, like how they make their hiring decision is we're busy. We're too busy. So therefore we need more people. But I like how, let's say that it brings it back to first principles is like, why are we actually going to hire this person? What work are they actually going to do? Is this actually value added work? Or like one thing I like to do with my employees is like, what are the things we must do, should do, could do? And when they say they're busy, oftentimes I'm like, a lot of stuff you want to do is actually in the could. We don't need to hire another person to get this could stuff done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly right? Well, I think in the product as well, like for the, when I was in company as CPO, I managed product managers and managed the engineering team, right? And so no matter how many engineers I have back then, even for well-financed startups, it's not unlimited resources, right? So you always have to do the prioritization about like which features you should work on now, which features probably done now, right? So you have the prioritizations, and I just remember like every time I probably have the 100 feature you want to build, and you are not going to build all 100 features in the same time, right? So not just because we're super busy, so we're hire, let's go get another 100 engineers to work on these features. No, right? It doesn't work that way. So really thinking about like as a company about like why you need hire this many people, why we only need 50 engineers is because they will work on the feature that will help with address another $50 million. So that's why we want to get the best engineering in place to be able to address the revenues, right? But you hire another 50 engineers, if that only help to get another $500,000 revenues, why matter, right? So
Yeah.
you don't want to hire them. As a leader, is not so good behavior about like the more people you have, the better. It's actually whether you'll be able to come up with hiring requests, really address the business and make totally economic sense about, we need to hire this one because this one will help us get $1 million, right? And so like that, yeah.
That's kind of like a key insight, I think, especially from the product end. You have a limited amount of resources. How can you most utilize this to provide create value for the business? In my case, when I was a director of work operations, my department that I was a co-founder, but it was any process requests or any technical systems we put in, or like even like onboarding systems, my department was in charge of making it. So I think the 4 of us. And so all the departments would send us their requests and they're like, we want this. And it's like, okay, why? And like, they really had to justify the case. But by getting them to justify the case, like if you create this process for us, it currently takes us 20 hours a month and we have 10 people doing it. So that's 200 hours a month.
Right.
If you save our department 200 hours, like, of course, why would I say no? And so, right, it was important. I think it was tough for people at first. I think especially, I'm not sure if this other companies, I'm pretty sure it's not a Japan specific thing, but I think I'd say more so on the Japanese side, I think they had like more trouble with that. They're like, we're working hard. We think this is right. But I was like, no, I need the data. There's only 4 of us full time. There's only so much we can do. So like, and plus we need to be saving more money for the company than we're receiving in salary. So, but I want to ask you, because I think one of your unique aspects is you're a product officer, but like, because for HR, they have HRBP now, like business partner. But when I talk to you, I always feel like he's product BP, even though that's not a term. But is that actually the CP? Is that a chief product officer's role, or is that more just something unique to you? I don't really have too many chances to talk to someone with, I think, this unique skill set. So I just have to ask.
Very interesting questions. And I think when I joined the company, I report to CEO, right? And well, basically, we don't give the very specific job description or definition about what CPO should do. It's really about what needs to be done. And when there's no this, you can take leave of that. And who then someone needs to take the responsibility for that, right? So I was the CPO of the companies. I was in charge of product engineering and partnership, biz dev, and customer services. I have the reason for that actually. Again, like as a leader, you really know about like why do you need these people under you, and because you want to create a closed loop about a thing you can really enable things. I want the customer service under me. It's just not just because I don't like COO, right? So it's just because I need them. I want to build a product that can automate the process, can reduce the cost of the contact per order. I want to know about why there's so many complaints. I want to know why there's what customer says about that, right? So and that will become our data, and to tell me about what product feature I need to prioritize and fix, right? And so every week we have process when my director of CS will report to me about list of top issues, and we're always trying about why this issue keep there for months, right? So we will always fix that things. So eventually that will improve your customer experience, right? Because you will see less and less complaint from there. And so that's why for me, it's actually a secret sauce. It's about like having the customer service team under the CPO is actually not necessarily be a bad thing, because I will think about how can I utilize, how can I create the tools, how can I create an AI chatbots, for customer service. So we don't need to hire a lot of people, to handle the same question inquiry for multiple users, right? For example. And also, another sense is about what I mentioned about the product, why I have the partnership like BizDev on me as well is we don't only build our own traffic, right? We want to increase the traffic, right? And so but we cannot work by ourselves. So that we're partnership with Google, with Yahoo, with PayPay, with those kind of players will help us to build another kind of touch points for our product to be existing on PayPay app, and also make our service being visible on the Google Map, for example. So I'll be able to just not focus on my own app business, but I'm building an ecosystem. I'm building the ecosystem to service for all the potential users on this kind of business. So that's why we can talk about like, I would think that makes sense to have me to manage the partnership biz dev team or those kind of things. So in the end, like I have a lot of teams kind of under my charters, but I found it out like it kind of turned out pretty well. So I have to consumer telling about what we need to do, and we have to, because we talk with partners, we know about what kind of requests from the partner, right? So, or I know about how how to drive the scale up by connecting with API integration, because I own the products. I don't need to talk to product about can you prioritize that thing, because I can close the loop inside my own management.
The stage they brought you in as a CPO also seems, because like if they were to bring in like like COO or like maybe a CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, like it would just create so much distance from the actual product. But to get you as a Chief Product Officer in that entry stage, that just seems like the right stage, the right hire, right skill set for the right moment.
Yeah, like when you look at it in 5-6 years, I will feel about like we have a good setup from the beginning. And if those kind of teams were fall under different leads, other leads, what will happen is we need to do about teams and teams meetings, and teams cannot decide to escalate to their managers. And I have to talk to another manager about like tell me about why we need to do the integration with Google Map. Tell me about numbers. And we are too busy. We own the product. If I only own the product engineering, they only protect my engineers, right? We already have our roadmap. Maybe next year, maybe 2 years after, right? But if I own that things, I know about the impacts. The data speaks, right? And this will be the expected revenue, the expected users after we do this. So no matter how busy I am, I will be able to, to put into the charters and will be able to prioritize that, because I feel about that's the most important thing to do. Yeah, so I think that's to your point. I think that's something I feel about even for a bigger company who is not allowed to do these models. Would probably, it's more everyone in a company, for example, the Google, if you have more than 100,000 employees, everybody will handle small pieces, right? So like, they have worried about multiple peoples. But I think about like if for the CPO, for the country managers, for the startups, you only have the smaller team. Most of you only have less than 100 people. Why do you need to have this many leads? Right? Or, to each your own level small parts, and they have so many communications coming up. Why not just hiring the strong leads, be able to do the multitask, be able to get the things done quicker, faster, and more meaningful? Yeah.
Yeah, and I love it. And I was the gatekeeper actually. So I had some interesting conversation. The CEO would want to do something and I would be the gatekeeper. It's like, I can do it, but for this one thing, it's probably going to cost us 10 hours. I'll have to tell them to stop. We're going to have to reorganize the plan. You sure you want to do this? you can always see the bigger picture, I think, as
Right.
the chief product officer.
Right, exactly. Well, again, I think I feel about like really when we prioritize, just doesn't mean about we really like it, I really like this partner, so we also want to prioritize. Actually, we have the best practice with our product manager as well. Is every time when we roll out features, and be sure to measure the before and after, right? And does that really create an impact we see, right? We expect to see 20% more user. Do we really see that? If we don't see that, why? Is that because we're not building good products, or because the hypothesis is so wrong? And did it create a negative impact sometimes, right? So is that every feature you build, you can boost out your business. Sometimes it will hurt your business, right? So you see about, well, there's lower acceptance rates, there's actually lower traffic, like, those kind of things. Then sometimes we need to roll back, some features, with deep lift. It's a very hard thing to do because you already invest in the time and engineering to build it up and roll it out, test it and roll it out. Then you have to roll it back. But I think as a CPO, you really need to be brave enough to roll something back. Don't think about wasting money, because if you don't roll it back, you waste more money. Yeah,
exactly. But it was great having you on the podcast. Where can people find you?
Right. Feel free to find me on LinkedIn. I'm very open-minded. I would love to talk with any of you. Like, connect me up on LinkedIn, and we can schedule casual introduction calls online. Or if you're based in Japan, Tokyo, we can meet in person for the coffee as well. Yeah, just reach out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me here.